It's showtime. What's up, good people, and welcome to the Frank Harris Show, the #1 podcast in the world, baby. What's up, Randy?
What's up? What's up?
Hey, Randy, I don't want to tell everybody how I just busted your ass in one-on-one basketball, but we ain't going to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? We ain't going to talk about how we played a lot of one-on-one basketball today and I busted your ass. You know what I'm saying? But we're not going to talk about that. But instead, Randy, did I bust your ass or no?
Yo, I want my shirt.
All right.
That's all I gotta say. I want my shirt.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
I scored on the Rucker Park Legend.
We'll leave it at that, but I did bust that ass. But anyway, Randy, I got some good shit to talk about today, dogs. Great controversial shit, and I'm gonna kick it off. And I also got a Frank being Frank today, which is a segment, people, that we're doing where I'm just being candid and I'm being me and I'm going crazy. So anyway, we'll get to that later, but let's kick it off. Randy, Karl Malone, the mailman, Utah Jazz legend, a part of the John Stockton, Karl Malone duo, right? The best pick and roll duo probably in the history of basketball, you would argue. Could never win championships because they kept getting beat by your Chicago Bulls. I'll say that, your Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. Now, Randy, Karl Malone is a very controversial figure, and he recently got a statue at his alma mater, Louisiana Tech. Okay? Which for me, man, I have a lot of very mixed feelings about Karl Malone. Great player, you know, great on the court. Dirty player, right? I mean, I know you remember when he gave Isaiah Thomas that elbow and busted his whole face open, played dirty. But he did some really fucked up shit at Louisiana Tech, all right? And so, you know, and he got inducted into the Louisiana Tech. I mean, they put the statues up, and they also did it in conjunction with other Louisiana Tech greats, okay? Some of them included the great Teresa Witherspoon, point guard, played at Louisiana Tech, played for the New York Liberty, was a coach, an assistant coach for the Pelicans, a woman assistant coach. She was Zion Williamson's person, right? You know, they were very tight. The great Kim Mulkey, maybe one of the greatest women's basketball, not maybe, I was going to say maybe the greatest, but she's not the greatest, right? She's not in front of Gino Auriemma, obviously, and Pat Summitt, but maybe the third best women's basketball coach ever. Great player, too, at Louisiana Tech. Great coach, obviously. She built that Baylor program and made that program into a powerhouse program. And now she's at LSU killing it, right? Just got I think it was a 10-year, $32 million deal. Just got a big deal, like a lifetime deal over at LSU, and she's killing it. Won the national championship last year. The great Terry Bradshaw was also a Louisiana Tech person that was inducted at the same time with Karl Malone. A few weeks back. Terry Bradshaw, great Steeler quarterback, 4 Super Bowls, fantastic player. And also Willie Loaf was another notable person who was commemorated and honored during the same ceremony. And there were a few other people too, but those were the big sports people who had high-level success when they had graduated from Louisiana Tech. Now, oh man, I have a huge problem with Karl Malone getting a statue at Louisiana Tech. Okay, this is very well chronicled that Karl Malone statutory raped. I mean, it's no other way to say it. A 13-year-old girl got her pregnant when he was a 20-year-old student at Louisiana Tech. Again, a 13-year-old girl got her pregnant. Her parents decided not to press charges, but 13 and 20 parents didn't press charges because he was a quote-unquote a neighborhood kid from the neighborhood. And they allowed their 13-year-old daughter to be pregnant and have a child. I mean, allowed her to have the child and didn't press charges. He then neglected the child, and you know, and I believe the young man, he reconnected with Malone after he was an adult, right? But he wasn't in the child's life, I think, for a lot of the time. In addition to that, he had, which is, you know, at 17 as a 17-year-old, he and his girlfriend had 2 twins as well that he also neglected and he didn't take care of, right? And I guess the saying, I guess it's being said that um, when they had children, grandchildren, that brought him into their lives, right? So he did, and by the way, he went to court and, paternity was established, and I guess he may have given them some money, but he wasn't in those kids' lives. Now, my issue with the Louisiana Tech statute is this. He committed statutory rape on a 13-year girl. He was a student on campus, okay? He was a student there on the basketball team playing basketball. How the fuck can you erect a statue, right, in this guy's honor? How can you do that, Randy?
It's crazy.
I mean, I just don't understand how do you as a university do that. And if I'm the great Kim Mulkey, again, the great LSU coach now, if I'm, Willie Loaf, if I'm Terry Bradshaw, oh my goodness, why are you doing this on the same day that you're honoring me? Like, do I want to be honored and brought in, and brought into the Hall of Fame and having statues and things like that happening with this guy? With this guy? Get the fuck out of here, man. And so I'm very disappointed at Louisiana Tech for doing so. I don't understand. There has to be some level of morality, okay? Players can be great players on the basketball court. Players can be great players, and bring you championships and do great things for your program. But Randy, when you have these kind of transgressions, there's no fucking way, right, that this guy should have a statue. So I needed to get into that, man. I had to get that off my chest. And by the way, look, it gets more controversial. Well, not more controversial, but there's another layer to it too. A few years back, the Utah Jazz erected a statue for him in front of their arena, okay? And so, again, that's a tougher one for me because obviously he was a great player for the Utah Jazz and had great success for that organization. Never won a championship though, but they had great success. And, the transgression happened when he was in college, right? And then he had gone on with his life. He wasn't in those kids' lives, which, that's a personal thing. You can feel it's fucked up, right? It's morally wrong, right? But I don't know that, he doesn't get a statue for that, right? Because there's a lot of motherfuckers, whether they in the NBA or any sports league, but in life, right? Forget about sports who ain't taking care of their fucking kids, right? So, or in their kids' lives, right? He may have provided economically at some point, but in their kids' lives, right? He ignored the kids. So that's a morality issue. I don't know that he shouldn't have a statue in front of the Utah Jazz arena because of what he accomplished there. And that was after, right, the incident that happened at Louisiana Tech. So I guess I can live with that one a bit more, the Utah Jazz one, but ain't no fucking way he should have one at Louisiana Tech. It's just no fucking way, Randy. No fucking way. I would love to have you guys write back, comment, and tell me what are your thoughts about it. But for me, it's no fucking way he should have that. No fucking way.
I agree.
No way, Randy. No way. No way. So now I got the Karl Malone shit off my chest, Ray. I had to get that off my chest because that's some messed up shit, bro.
It's heavy.
I had to get that off my chest, man. Come on, Karl Malone. And look, before I move on, it's a rumor, right? Now it's kind of he say, she say that he also hit on Kobe's wife, the late Kobe Bryant's wife. Rob Pelinka, the agent, said it. Vanessa Bryant said it that while they were teammates, Randy. Oh my goodness, teammates, and he hit on Kobe's wife in front of Pelinka, right? And Pelinka spoke about it. So that's another transgression, but I guess again that's he say, she say. So we can't necessarily get into that. But that's another Karl Malone issue. But again, let me go back to say my big issue is the statutory rape and the statue at Louisiana Tech. So anyway, Randy, now I want to change gears, dogs, and talk about something else, Randy, that's really, really hot right now.
What you got?
So Randy, let me ask you this question, okay? You see that gambling is now legalized, allowed. You have betting platforms that have partnerships now with professional leagues, which I think is fucking crazy, okay? And you wonder how much now, with so much money at stake with gambling, how much now will games be rigged, right? Where, and this is multi-layered, okay? So now there's a lot of money to be made by the NBA or by the NFL or by these leagues with these betting platforms. One, but Randy, think about this layer right here. Okay, I'm just gonna give you I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. Okay, you play for a basketball team or a football team. Okay, your boy plays for another football team, right? This at every level, college, high school, right? Or your boy plays for another basketball team. Okay. You can get all kinds of inside information on your boy's basketball team. Fair enough? So now, you play basketball for University of Kansas, right? You got a boy that plays football for the University of Michigan, okay? Your boy that plays football for the University of Michigan got a lot of information about the program, a lot of inside information, a lot of insider trading information about players that may be hurt, players that may be on a scouting report, players that may be having problems with their girlfriends, players that may be having all kind of other issues, players that may be getting less playing time because they're in the coach's doghouse. There's a lot of information, a lot of inside information is floating around, Randy, right?
Sure.
So now with all the inside information floating around, can't your boy at that program give you a lot of inside info about what's happening with his team that would absolutely influence the way you bet?
Oh, for sure. No doubt.
Right. So that's a layer, okay? Let me add another layer, dogs. How about this layer? And this layer has always existed, okay? I mean, we know about all kind of betting scandals historically. We go all the way back to, the Black Sox betting scandal years and years ago when the mob, influenced the World Series, right? And then we go historically. I mean, Boston College, great players. The gangster Henry Hill, I believe his name was, who was portrayed by Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. Yes, he clearly spoke about how they influenced basketball games and had players throwing games. You know how easy it is for a player to throw a basketball. Let me say it's not easy, but if the game is ever close, okay, if a game is ever close and you're an influential player, okay, somebody comes to you and says, "Look, man, the spread is 5 points, the spread is 4 points. Miss a free throw here or there, get a foul out, and if you can influence the game, I'll pay you $100,000 or 15 or 20 grand, and you're a college kid." That's pretty tempting, right?
Yeah, I can see college kids.
That's pretty fucking tempting, right?
Going down that rabbit
So we've known for years that games have been influenced. They had the big scandal with Stephen Smith and Burton over at Arizona State. Big basketball scandal. Those guys were throwing games as well. So again, now you have legalized betting. You have betting platforms that are in bed with our leagues, which to me, I think that feels uncomfortable. For me, it feels very uncomfortable, but the money's too much for these leagues not to be in bed with the betting platforms, right?
Yeah, very true.
So now, it also brings you to when Donaghy, remember the referee, Donaghy was said, don't forget about Donaghy. Donaghy was very clear as he spoke about the referees influencing games. He was clear about that, okay? And so now, Randy, you have referees who ultimately are employed by who, right? The NBA, the NFL, et cetera, okay? The NBA and
Sports leagues.
right, the sports leagues usually, right? Now they have a union, but they're still, So now you got the NBA, the NFL, you got these professional leagues now who have significant partnerships, stakes, et cetera, in betting platforms. Whew, Randy, I don't know about that, man. That feels uncomfortable. And it feels like it really to me could undermine the credibility of fair play and the credibility of these leagues. Right? You got to think about that, right? In terms of undermining that. Fair?
The integrity of the game.
The integrity of the game, right? It's that question, especially when you think about man, they're making billions of dollars a year from these betting platforms, and they can influence games. The players can influence games adversely. It's a lot of money, exchanging hands. And look, I mean, we got insider trading that happens every day, whether it be on the stock markets and corporations and business. With this gambling thing legal, why do you think the same inside information won't be used to bet?
Yeah, especially at the lower levels.
Shady, Randy.
How are you going to prove it?
Shady. So it's a relationship that I'm not sure I feel very comfortable with. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like it's a very uncomfortable relationship. And let's see how it evolves, right? It's new, obviously, but let's see. You already see some scandals that have transpired. A bunch of Detroit Lions players got in trouble because they were betting at the facility, and so you've already seen some of the ramifications early, but let's see. And then you wonder if more people get caught doing shady shit. A few kids on the Iowa State football team got in trouble because they were betting on some Iowa State games as well, so a lot of those kids got in trouble. And you wondered, Randy, on some levels, because of the appearance and because of their relationship, will they also sweep some of these situations under the rug, especially as it relates to high-level players? Because think about how big that scandal is and how it would mess up the money. So you suspend the Iowa State kid. I mean, no one cares about that. Or some marginal Detroit Lions players. But what about if a star quarterback from a football team all of a sudden gets busted? What's going to happen?
Your public relations department is going to be active.
Or more importantly, forget about the PR. They might sweep it under the rug. You might not ever fucking hear about it. Because realistically, what's the appearance going to be like if all of a sudden, you hear about high-level players betting? Then the integrity of the game is in trouble. And they can't handle that. They can't have that in those leagues, right?
Yeah, well, I think that was their main concern to begin with.
But the money was too good. It was their main concern to begin with. But guess what, Randy? Right? Money on the wood make the game good, baby. Money on the wood make the game good, boy. When the money go up, you understand what I'm saying? Everything go up. The money too big. And so they had to deal with it and, jump in the game and be involved in it. So tricky. I'm very interested to see how this continues to transpire and what's going to happen long term with these betting platforms and, with gambling being such a part now. I mean, you go on ESPN and they have, hours of gambling talk, and they give you the spread for games and all kinds of stuff, right? It's nuts. It's nuts, dogs. It's a part of sports. It's ingrained now. So we will see how that transpires, right? And how it continues to happen in real time, Randy. Now, I want to switch gears again, right? Because, we like to keep it moving. We like to keep the topics juicy and fun. We like to talk about a lot of different things, Randy, on the show. You know what I'm saying? You're ready, man. You got some plans, man, for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I do. Basketball tournament for our kids, little youngsters.
Okay.
Shout out to the young ballers.
Shout out to our basketball. We got the best 8U team in the country, the young ballers. Ballin'. Yes, Randy. We got some great kids, man. Talented team. We're gonna win the tournament this weekend. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, for sure.
That's right, young ballers. I think it's time for us to do a Frank being Frank. All right? Frank being Frank. Randy, I'm gonna change topics right now because we talk a lot about sports, obviously. And look, that's the focal point of what we do here. But I think it's important also to touch on topical issues and other issues that impact our world because I'm versed in a whole bunch of shit, Randy. I'm the best at this shit, bro. I'm telling you. So now, that being said, Frank being Frank. So, Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, whatever you guys want to call him. He's come under fire. Well, he's been under fire for a lot of years, but he's come under fire recently because people feel like he has robbed his artists. Bad deals, fucked up deals, owning their publishing for years and years and years and years, signing them to bad contracts and doing just bad business overall, right? Artists allege that they leave broke, they've been mistreated throughout their deals, okay? What I don't fucking understand is this. Is it because he's a black man? And by the way, some of the deals maybe I don't want to say unfair, but maybe aggressive. Okay, but let's paint a frank being frank picture here, because some of these deals may be aggressive. But let me ask you this question: so Puffy spends years and years and years building a company called Bad Boy, okay, elite, high level music company, okay, distributed by Arista at the time, and it's elite. They give him a label, Clive Davis does, and he builds it out, right? Biggie Smalls, some of the best artists of the era, right? And had high levels of success. And he builds out, got all these great producers, great songwriters, and he finds these artists a lot of time. And these artists don't have a lot of fanfare. He puts the groups together, a group like Total. You know, he signs a rapper like Mace, and they now come onto his platform that he's built. And this platform is substantial, okay? So when people say, you know, it should be partnerships and deals, right? But the level of partnership when he takes the risk when they first start off, Puffy and Bad Boy are up here somewhere, and this new band or artist or whoever you want to call it, he puts together, right? They don't have very much power in the market. They're just new artists just getting started. So he's taking all the risk. And by the way, if he spends $5 million and it doesn't work, they don't pay it back, right? So he takes all the risk up front, all of the risk, okay? So shouldn't he have the highest level of participation with the upside? I mean, he took all the risk. And maybe the deals may be aggressive, okay? But maybe not overly aggressive. They're just aggressive deals because, again, all of a sudden you get a chance to be a part of the machine. And you get to collaborate with the best artists, you get the best songwriters, you get the best records, you get relationships, whether it be to get your song on the radio or to get your song on the platforms, whatever they may be, because there's a barrier of entry where you wouldn't have been able to get to those places without the powers that be allowing you, or not allowing you, but being a part of a label or a place that has all of these different relationships. So you would have never gotten an opportunity, okay? So again, I don't understand this concept of like, oh, it should be equal and no. And then, by the way, I don't understand this part of it too. All y'all motherfuckers, and I guess Puffy's a bit more high profile, but all y'all want to yell and scream about Puff Daddy about these unfair deals. These motherfucking labels have been doing this historically forever. This is not new. The three conglomerate distribution companies, Universal Music, Sony Music, and the Warner Music Group. What the fuck? These are the deals they've been doing for years. What's new here? Why is it somebody calling out Lucian Grange? Universal Music Group is the biggest conglomerate music company in the world, right? I don't hear nobody saying Lucian Grange, Lucian Grange, Lucian Grange. Why? I don't hear anybody talking about Rob Stringer, the guy who runs Sony. Why?
Maybe they're not aware.
Come on, bro.
Like you said, Puffy's
right?
high profile.
I understand he's high profile, and I get that he's on TV, right? But, you know, and again, I'm not necessarily defending his business practices. I mean, you know, he's aggressive in business deals. And by the way, you don't, and look, with all the things that you sign up for or into when you sign to his label, you don't got to sign the paper, do you? You don't, I mean, you're not being forced to sign the paper. You sign a deal. And by the way, when you sign a deal, you all of a sudden have access to a world of opportunity, brand deals, right? Now all of a sudden you can build a touring business. You can become a brand. Look at a guy like 50 Cent, for instance. I mean, he wasn't signed with Puffy, but he signed a deal with Dr. Dre, Eminem, Interscope, okay? I mean, that money was getting sliced a lot of ways, but 50 Cent took that opportunity, okay? Built G-Unit, built his brand, got a vitamin water deal, you know, has all these different TV shows. He's built a conglomerate company, okay? He would have not potentially been able to do that without having the big machine behind him to help build his brand to astronomical levels.
Yeah, that may be true, but another thing that I'm not aware of is whether or not 50 Cent was mentored by Dr. Dre, by Eminem.
Yeah,
and their
but
team.
mentor,
I don't-
but rather than mentor or not, I don't know the relevance of that as relates to this specific conversation. What I'm saying is, I don't know why Puffy's singled out, and I guess he's singled out because he's so high profile and he puts himself out there because he's such a public figure. But I don't know that his practices are any different than historically what the practices have been. And by the way, the barrier of entry to be successful in the music industry is hard. Please let me know how many artists have succeeded at the highest level without a major record label behind them. Even today, artists can get to a certain point. Okay, record labels are taking more time now waiting before they sign artists, but still at some point, every artist at some point partners up with a major label for the most part to get to the highest level of success. They do. You can't do it without the labels. So because there's such a barrier of entry, labels can and labels obviously have all the relationships to get you all the way to the top. Then labels can now set the price. So we can argue whether it's right or wrong, but that's business. That's business. And all I say is this: that's business. But all I say is this: Puffy, may have been aggressive in his deals. Okay, and I would love to get people commenting, feeding back. I would love to talk more about this, but this is again, let's talk about Lucien Grange. Let's talk about Rob Stringer and Sony. And by the way, and not just talking about those guys, we're talking about the history of all of it. Okay, because as we talk about those two guys, right, Max Losada, right, who's running the Warner Music Group. So my point is, let's just have, real conversations around what's happening with these labels and not just single out a guy like Puff Daddy, right, a black man, right, who again fell in line with the practices of what was happening around him.
Well,
Because he gave a lot of motherfuckers opportunities, right, and helped a lot of people build careers. Now, what they did with that, we're going to see. But like I said, that's just Frank being Frank. I told you before, Frank was going to be Frank. I'm going to say some shit that people don't agree with. I'm going to keep it a buck. And by the way, if somebody want to debate me and talk about this, we can get busy now. We can get busy. Frank being Frank. Let's go. Now, Randy. I had to get that off my chest, bruh. Frank being Frank shit. You know what I'm saying? So, Randy, what I want to do is I think I want to wrap today with one last topic. Okay? Now, the Saudis.
bitch.
The Saudis. Let me say something, man. It's a lot of money over there in the Middle East. It's a lot of money in the Middle East, bro. They print money over there. There you go. They print money over there. And so the Saudis' impact on sports, all right? They call it sports washing. A lot of people say they're sports washing because ultimately, Ben Salman, the guy who's pretty much running Saudi Arabia, is saying, he's fine with sports washing if it's bringing up, significantly raising the profile of the Saudi profile on the world stage, also making money for the country. And so look at what happened with, first of all, the Saudis got involved in football, soccer, you say. And all of a sudden you started to see Ronaldo was the first domino that fell, right? He left the more traditional leagues. He played for years and years and years, for Real Madrid and various teams and had high levels of success. Played in Italy, one of the top 5 probably best footballers ever, right? Soccer players ever, they call it football. And he went to Saudi, and then a lot of great players have now followed suit, and they paying them crazy amounts of money, right? And then all of a sudden they tried to get Mbappe, I believe it was, and they were willing for 1 year to offer between the transfer fee for Mbappe and the salary, they were going to do, I believe, like a 1 year, $470 million deal, okay? And when they did that, LeBron James and all of these really big NBA stars and NFL stars too, all kinds American athletes had the eyes in their tweets like, whoa, like, and then, or you offer me that deal, I'm running. They, the running emoji. They had all these different emojis and GIFs and all that kind of stuff. And so even though those were jokes, okay, there's some validity to it probably as well, okay? And so before I get into the NFL and the NBA players and people, with the Gaga eyes over that big deal, they got involved with Live Golf, and they just transformed, flipped, spun around the whole golf world. Okay, they got Phil Mickelson first, right? Phil Mickelson, he went over to Live. A lot of other great golfers then followed. Okay, and initially the PGA Tour was speaking so negatively about the Live Tour, Tiger Woods, fierce opponents of these golfers who had defected and wouldn't take the money. $100 million, they went for the money. Supposedly, Tiger Woods got offered $400 million to join Live, but he said no. But don't think that the PGA didn't put some money in his pocket, though. You didn't hear that, but we know what it really was. But anyway, he said no. PGA spoke really negatively about what was happening with Live Golf. Greg Norman was running it at the time, right? The Shark, Greg Norman, was running Live Golf. And then it got so crazy. And golf is a sport that doesn't have enough superstars, right, to spread between leagues. Golf is not a sport. Golf has not been the same since Tiger's not been Tiger, okay? And so golf is not successful enough as a league to have their best players spread between multiple leagues. So then all of a sudden, it's unbelievable that the PGA Tour did a complete 180, okay? And they went from despising what was happening with Live Golf to partnering up with them. And it was crazy because Live Golf could barely get a TV deal. They got a deal ultimately, but nobody was watching Live Golf. And at the time, it wasn't so much of a threat in terms of viewership and fans, right? But the golfers were defecting to Live to play. So now the PGA had to come to the table and do a deal with Live. And so now the PGA has combined with Live. So now all of a sudden, the Saudis, okay, who obviously they created, the Saudi fund created Live Golf. Now they've completely infiltrated the golf game. So now they are making, inroads in the soccer game globally, in the golf game, in the fight game, right? A lot of great heavyweight boxers and fights now. Tyson Fury always fights in Saudi. Anthony Joshua, those fights are now in Saudi. So they are, the Zone, right, the big promotions company. So they are significantly impacting the boxing world, okay? So now, should Adam Silver be on watch? Should Adam Silver be on watch? Because I have this question for you. Because if the Saudis came to LeBron and said, hey, LeBron, we want to give you a 3-year $1 billion deal. For you, Bronny, and Bryce, we'll give Bryce $100 million, and Bronny $100 million, and your other son $100 million. We'll give you $1 billion, and you be the ambassador for Live basketball. For Saudi basketball. And we created a Saudi league. What you gonna do? $1 billion for 3 years, and bring Bronny with you. And when your other son is ready, bring him too.
Wow.
Right? If you now I don't know that football, American football is a big enough sport yet. They're trying to globalize the sport by playing now in London and playing in Germany, playing games in Europe. But basketball is huge internationally.
I feel like basketball is the next play.
Right, so it's basketball to play. Because, realistically, imagine if they offered Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite basketball players, those kind of deals, right? A 3-year $1 billion deal, and you be an ambassador, and not just an ambassador, but imagine the relationships that you can build, right, in the Middle East. There's so much opportunity, right? So much economical opportunity. And then guess what happened? LeBron James, a few months ago, just recently took a trip to where? Saudi. LeBron James took a trip to Saudi. Randy, stay tuned. Stay tuned. And then remember now, LeBron James is getting older. And LeBron James is starting to float around the idea, I may retire all of a sudden last year. I may retire. Then this year they asked him, right, just when they had press day the other day, what are your plans beyond this year? You're thinking, I don't know. I can't think beyond this year. All I know is I'm excited and I'm ready for this year. Could I retire after this year? It's possible, but Randy, those seeds are starting to be planted, and they're starting to plant those seeds, Randy. It's LeBron, or some of the elite basketball players going to Saudi. And are they going to become a part of the Saudi sports washing movement where the Saudis are trying to take over sports? Is it happening? Is it going to happen? Should Adam Silver be concerned?
When there's smoke, there's fire.
And then there's a whole nother element to this you can talk about, because people feel like, for you to do business with the Saudis, right? That was the whole PGA. It's funny. They were like, looking down upon the Saudis because of their human rights issues, obviously, with women, just with the way the country was ran, right? What happened with Khashoggi when he got murdered in the embassy. So there's a lot of issues that people feel like exist in Saudi. And so people call it dirty money, okay? So that's what the PGA was yelling and screaming. It was dirty money. And guess what the PGA Tour just did? They got in bed with them, okay? So that's another layer of the conversation where people feel like, should sports, okay, get involved with the Saudis because of, again, the history and the current state of what's happening in Saudi Arabia, right? So that's another element that you got to bring up. The morality element. People think it's not the right and moral thing to do in a place where people say still has a lot of, I don't want to call it backwards, right? But as it comes to, again, equality, democracy, woman, they may leave a lot to be desired from some people's perspectives, right? But all I know is the Saudis are coming. Adam Silver, be careful. Be careful. So anyway, Randy, I want to touch upon that, obviously. And, we good, man. I mean, I enjoy talking about these three topics, right? We talked about the Karl Malone statue, which, I have my feelings about, especially the one at Louisiana Tech. Karl Malone is a super controversial guy. Super controversial. Like I said, Kim Mulkey and some of those other people who were inducted at the same time probably are just like, why the hell on my watch? Crazy. We had to talk about the Saudis, man. Ooh, we had to talk about the Saudis, Randy. We had to talk about the Saudis because guess what? The Saudis are coming, bro. The Saudis are coming. And then I had to give you a being frank. Sometimes you got to keep it a buck. We got to keep it a buck. And then, Randy, we had to talk about what? Sports, betting, and our games rigged, right? All real talk, baby. The Frank Harris Show, the best podcast in the world, the best podcast in the world, and I'm the best at doing this. Let's keep it going. Support, follow, be a part of this incredible journey. Roll with it or get ran over, baby. We here. One love.